Hey everybody, and welcome to the Three Gun Show. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and with me today is Tracy Barnes of Check Outside. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's exciting to have you here. We're gonna go. This is try number two. We had a little bit of technical difficulties a minute ago, and it looks good right now.
Thanks. I've called
Technology.
a bunch of times, so I'm used to it.
So this is the first time you've been on the show, and I'm really excited to have you here. We've shot together for several years now, and you've got a little bit of a pause in the three gun action here. But I wanna catch up with you and what you're doing, and it for people that are watching with us live on YouTube, you've got kind of an interesting background there. Where are you at, Tracy?
I'm actually in our rental showroom in Durango, Colorado. For This is our rental showroom for Check Outside. We rent gear and equipment for hunting, three gun, other outdoor adventure gear, camping, things like that. And this is kind of where people can come in and pick up their camping gear and kind of check out what we have and try out any stuff and say, hey, I want to add that onto the package, and then pick it up and head outdoors.
That's pretty sweet. I love how you have like all the gear sitting there for people to play with. And a lot of times, so I've done like the rental counter thing at REI, like for backpacking equipment, and
Yeah.
it's all way in the back, and I never know like what is available. It's cool that you have it out there so people can see it and play with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. People can come in here, they can test it out, try it. All the kids they always hop in the tent. You know, but yeah, it's just kind of hands on, and that's kind of one of our business ideas for Check Outside is just really hands on approach. We let people try out all the gear that is available to you out there, and just gives you the chance to try it before you buy it.
Awesome. So this is a really cool concept. It's something like I said I've used several times before in other avenues, but we don't necessarily have one in the three gun or practical shooting space. And I want to get into this, but I want to talk about you first, Tracy. So let's talk about your background, and why don't you give us an idea of who you are off the range? What do you do when you're not shooting and when you're not running check outside?
So yeah, so I grew up in Durango, Colorado, and from there I joined the sport of biathlon, which is cross country skiing and shooting. And I competed with my twin sister, who many people know a lot better than myself. And we competed together for close to 20 years in the Olympics, on the World Cups, and things like that in the sport of biathlon. And then from there, we kind of towards the end of our career, we discovered three gun kind of as a way to cross train for biathlon, and thought it was a great way to cross train. And it's biathlon is you go a long ways and do a small amount of shooting. Three gun is like a lot of shooting and not as much running. So we were totally more trigger time. Is a lot of action, so it was fun.
That's really cool. I actually got to see your sister Lanny this weekend at the Colorado Three Gun Championship, which is where I lost my voice, which is why I sound all congested and radio announcery.
Yeah, no, she's that I've done that match before. It's a great match. It's hoping to do it next year.
Yeah, very cool. The stages were absolutely incredible this year. I mean, it's been great in years past, but yeah, it was an amazing match. So I'm sorry you missed it. I'm probably making the fear of missing out a little worse here, but the
Yeah,
three gun path. So when you say you like discovered it and you thought it might be like a good way of a training, like how did that discovery happen?
well, we've just being in the shooting industry in general, you meet a lot of different shooters from a lot of different backgrounds, and I think it's one of those things where we're talking to different people, and it's like, so what do you do? Well, I do the sport of three gun. What's that? Just try. You hear about it, and then most people that hear about it, they're intrigued by it, and then once you try it, well, then it's game over. You're hooked.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So your I know that your shooting career, I guess, kind of started like in the Southwest. If I'm not mistaken, Rocky Mountain three gun area, which is the NRA Whittington Center. That was kind of like your taste, right, of small bore, that kind of competition.
Yeah, so in middle school, I think we started out with some small bore competitions down in Raton, and yeah, our dad signed us up for these matches, and it was fun. It was definitely interesting, and but you know, in between stages, we'd be juggling a soccer ball and running around, and some guy at the match is like, "You're in the wrong sport." You know, everyone else is kind of calming down between stages, shooting stages, and everything. So he told us about biathlon, and I don't know. We thought it was a good way to stay in shape for soccer, and we tried it out and just kind of fell in love with it. So,
Yeah. Now, did you ski at that point, or was that something that you had to learn for the sport?
yeah, we were downhill skiers. I mean, everyone in Colorado downhill skis. I mean, why would you cross country ski when you take the lift up the hill?
Yeah.
You don't ski up hills around here; they're too steep.
Yep.
So we didn't cross country ski. That was something that we had to learn how to do. And yeah, we were terrible at it. I mean, we just, and this was in high school, so it was incredibly embarrassing. But yeah, we started cross country skiing, and we would just go to practice, and we'd be skis and poles and boots and everything going everywhere. And yeah, we were. It was an experience for sure.
Nice. That's pretty much how I downhill ski. It looks like the cartoons where there's just snow flying everywhere and hats coming off and goggles.
Like a yard sale.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's like dropping quad loads on a shotgun run.
Exactly.
Well, I guess the life of an Olympic athlete is super interesting, and it's very interesting to the audience because of the amount of like dedication it takes. And I think for a lot of people, three gun is something everyone wants to be good at, but not a lot of people are prepared to dedicate the amount of time that it takes to be good. Is biathlon the same way? Are there hobbyists, or is it just all or nothing kind of thing?
You definitely see some hobbyists in biathlon. I mean, I think biathlon is the most popular winter sport in Europe. So at some of our events and our World Cups, we'll get 30,000 spectators. So at some of our venues in Germany, there's the shooting range, and then 50 yards behind you, you've got 30,000 screaming, mostly drunk German fans, and it's great. It's like the atmosphere is so exciting, and it gives you goosebumps. You can't, our heart's beating so fast and we're breathing so hard, but you can't tell. Like you don't even get an idea of how hard you're breathing or anything just because the crowd is so loud. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's part of like mental management and dealing with your match, right? Is dealing with that crowd. Like how do you tune it out, or do you use that as a tool to drive you?
Oh yeah, you have to with that many people, and you have 5 shots to hit 5 targets. If you miss at all, then you have to do an extra penalty loop, which adds time to your overall time. And it just so the better you shoot, the faster you shoot, the better you'll do in the race. And with that many people screaming, having your focus is incredibly important, especially when you've got these people screaming behind you, you've got your competitor shooting on the line right next to you. There's just a lot going on. So you have to be able to kind of flip that switch and turn it off and focus on your shooting. My sister and I, we would actually kind of use that to fuel us because there's no getting around it. It's going to be there. The crowd's going to be loud. They're going to be crazy, and your competitors are going to be right there. So there's no getting around that pressure. So just creating that scenario when you're training and learning how to deal with it. That's kind of was our strategy for the sport, and it
Mm-hmm.
worked. My sister was known as one of the top shooters in the sport, so I was incredibly consistent. I consider myself. I beat her on occasion. But yeah, it's that's the biggest aspect of the sport is the mental side of it, and just overcoming that pressure that you have in the range with that many people and your competitors and things like that.
Hmm. Well, you started junior high school. When what did you guys do for mental training? I mean, I understand there's probably like skiing coaches and shooting coaches and stuff like that that you could have gone to. How does the mental training aspect work as an Olympic athlete?
Well, I think, trying to recreate that scenario, trying to put yourself under extreme physical stress, because when you're tired, you mentally, you mentally start to break down. And that's kind of the same situation that we see in a race. Because some of our races are anywhere from say 6 to 12 miles that we're racing total for the race, and you're going to get tired. And as you get tired, you're not thinking as well. Your focus isn't as sharp, and when you only have seconds to make those shots and make them count, and with the winter conditions you see with a lot of wind and things like that, you're really trying to be able to focus under pressure. Physical stress, those sorts of things is really important. So recreating that in competitions, Lanny and I would create competitions amongst ourselves. I think every training we had was a competition. Even if it was just who's going to cook lunch that day. You got to make it. You got to make it a competition. You got to put some pressure on it. And that helps. All those little things add up to help when you get on the line and when you're competing.
Right. So how did you try to recreate that pressure then? Like what were the specific tactics? I mean, obviously it's difficult to get 30,000 of your closest friends to come in and cheer you on so you can recreate the drunk German crowd, right? But what sort of things did you do to try to make it as similar as possible?
There's for example, we had a psychologist who would come in, and Lanny would come in and shoot, and he'd get right up in her face and be like, Barnes, Barnes, Barnes. And that was funny. It wasn't that much pressure. It was more just kind of annoying and something that would test your focus. But it's funny because when she came into there was a race we were doing in Germany where she was in the lead. She was ahead of all these Germans. It was the German national championships. And so, of course, like the crowd's going nuts because she's ahead of all the Germans, and they're the favorites. And she comes into the range, and the loudspeakers is just Barnes, 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 all this sort of stuff. And she was like, "Well, I'm used to that. We had that in training." So, just kind of recreating different scenarios, doing different things that kind of test your focus. That kind of would, even simple things as like telling jokes or things like that. But one of the biggest things was, I think, the physical strain, because I think as you get physically worn down, your mental ability kind of declines. So we would we go out for really long workouts or really long intervals, really tough workouts. And then, and that's a lot of times when people are like, well, that's when you should leave the range, when you're tired. Because, of course, you got to be safe. Mistakes can happen in that situation. But that's also a time when you can really do some really good training and really improve your game.
Interesting. Yeah. So there's several things I want to unpack about that, because that was a super interesting uh, uh, statement that you said there. But as I want to start with flipping the switch. So how do you flip that switch? Do you create like some sort of indicator, like a reminder for you to flip the switch, or is it just is it stepping out, onto the snow, to the track? Do they call it track?
We use keywords a lot of times because the keyword is something that can kind of, I mean.
Oh, we lost Tracy. We're going to wait a minute to see if Tracy comes back. This is the Dave Hartman solo show here for those of you watching along. We will be responding to comments in the chat, so go ahead and comment. Question, anything you want to say, we'll respond to it when we get done. And now we wait for Tracy. Durango must have an internet slow. Chuck, thank you, Chuck. I will sing a song. What song do you want to hear, Chuck? It's early, by the way, so my vocal cords aren't warmed up. Be gentle. 90s rap always works well. I think she's probably still talking to her microphone or her camera. Anything? You don't like range day, Chuck? Chuck Rossi says he doesn't like range day. The range day, when I tell people it's range day on Instagram, he doesn't like that. It's my thing. It'd be nice if there was a way to pause the broadcast in Google Hangouts. Oh, Chuck Rossi says we're not at the range, so it would make him feel bad. Chuck has fear of missing out. He doesn't like working when other people are at the range. Tracy, come back soon, hopefully. There we go.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
not sure what
Welcome.
happened. So yeah, anyways, I was just saying, like you were asking about how we get that focus. I think keywords are one of the things that we use. So
Yes.
and keywords are something that it takes a little bit of training over a period of time to actually um, you know master, I guess, that skill. So for example, during my training, we train keywords and say my keyword was computer, and I'm just pulling that one out. But every time I go to shoot, I'd say computer, and then and I'd actually physically and mentally go through the process of like relaxing. So I'd say computer and then kind of think through the process of relaxing and getting the position and going through the process of shooting. So, and I did this every time that I come in to shoot. And after a while, even when I go to sleep at night, that word computer would be going through my head because my body recognized it as a way to relax. So keywords are something that you use to, after a while. I mean, it takes a long time to train these things, but you can use it if you do it consistently. It's almost like the Pavlov's dog. The dog sees a treat, it starts drooling. Same kind of concept in a little bit different way, but it really kind of helps you to focus. Brings you away from all those bad distractions, brings you in we consider a good distraction. So you come in, you say that keyword, automatically your body does what it, because you don't want to be thinking through things. You just want it to be an automatic reaction.
Right. Yeah. So I've got the kind of Pavlovian response too. Anytime I hear the start timer, I drop things and forget what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when you talk about those keywords to calm your mind, calm your body, are you saying that out loud to yourself? Are you repeating it in your head?
Oh, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't say it out loud to myself. I'd repeat it in my head. But it's the same thing. If you get to the buzzer, that's something that people can train to be able to deal with the pressure that they feel when the buzzer goes off. It's, oh God, the buzzer goes off, and you feel that tension. So every time you get a buzzer at home, or whatever, the same kind of sound on your phone or something like that, then you can just even train it on when you're sitting on the couch. The buzzer goes off. You kind of mentally visualize going through the stage, but then repeat that when the buzzer goes off. You repeat that word, kind of physically and mentally go through the process of relaxing, and eventually your mind and your body will recognize that word with that sound, and know what to do when that sound goes off. So the automatic response will be to relax.
I gotcha. I really like that. Using the buzzer, the timer outside of dry fire or outside of training or outside of a match environment, just when you're trying to relax, it is cool because then it does give you, not only more repetitions with that timer, but also and that sound, but also, like you said, associates it with something calming rather than something stressful.
Yeah, I mean, we would do the same thing before the start of our race. There would be this countdown timer that would go off, and I mean, you could do that countdown timer to someone, almost like a joke, just get someone all riled up, just to hear it. Same kind of thing with the buzzer. I mean, it's just your body has a response to that, and you can train your body to have a different response. So you don't have to get nervous when you hear that buzzer. You can train your body to have, well, any kind of response you want. But essentially, if you want to be more relaxed and be more focused when you start the stage, then you train yourself to have that sort of relaxed, more focused approach to the sound of the buzzer.
So if that is something that the audience wants to incorporate into their training, maybe some mental training to go with the dry fire and the live fire, how do you start that? Do you immediately jump into to the buzzer indicates calming, relaxing meditation, or is there like baby steps to get yourself to that point?
Well, I think first you need to. I mean, the first step is just picking a keyword that I think is going to work for you. It can honestly be anything. I mean, if even if you wanted it to say relax, and that kind of helped you trigger your body, but sometimes even having a word that's completely different, like say tree, that so sort of distracts your mind completely away from what it is you're doing. Because there's all these bad distractions in a stage. Those are the things that actually keep us from performing well. These bad distractions, which is a lot of time us thinking and getting in the way of what we're doing. So if you can have a distraction, say tree, and sometimes there's stages we do in biathlon where I'm feeling extra pressure. So through the whole thing, I'd say tree, 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 tree. So I'm not thinking about trigger. I'm not thinking about the people behind me. I'm not thinking about anything, because what I want to do is I just want my training to kick in. I want it to be an automatic response because I've done all the training, you know. And so I just, if I start thinking through, having a good trigger and some of those things, at some point your mind's going to get in the way because you can't think about all those things that you need to when the buzzer goes off. There's just not enough time. So if you're thinking too much, then that's when we get in the way of our performance. So just having a keyword. So you figure out your keyword, and then from there, like I think just sitting down and going through the process of trying to relax and thinking about relax, even if it's like just even say looking at your muscles and physically making sure that you feel that relaxation in your muscles. So it's just things like that, working on your breathing. It is I guess it is sort of a meditation sort of thing. I'm not, into meditation, I guess, on that level, but if yeah, you can call it that, and it's just a way to kind of help yourself to relax and associate that keyword with what you're doing.
Got it. So I really love that topic, and because like I said, I just shot the Colorado Three Gun Championship this year or this weekend, and my um my first stage, I was amped up beyond belief to where, like, as I'm in the starting box, we started with a shotgun on our very first stage. I could feel like my hands like shaking around the grip on the shotgun. Is like that's how excited or how much pressure I put on myself on that first stage. There is it's pretty incredible what we can do with our own mind.
Sure. Yeah, and that's just your fight or flight response that you're having. As you start to get nervous, you're having that response. Adrenaline's coursing through your veins, and your heart rate increases. Your pupils start to dilate. All those sort of physical responses that you're having to what's about to happen. Those are the sort of things that you can kind of train to either use to your benefit, or they can you can have that sort of shaking and things like that. So, but keywords can definitely help to that whole process of even not getting nervous before a stage, or not getting excited when overly excited when you hear that buzzer go off.
Right. So one of the things that people really notice about you and your sister, besides the fact that you guys look and talk very similar, is that in the morning or before stages start, you guys are always running around the range. And I'm curious, is that a way to get yourself pumped up and excited for the stage, or is that a way to calm and relax you because you're used to that level of physical engagement before shooting?
Sure, it's actually a way of just getting our body ready, because if you start cold turkey, your muscles aren't warmed up, your lungs aren't warmed up, your blood's not pumping yet. So if you're going from 0 to 60, that's going to take a lot more gas, so to speak, than it is if you're already warmed up and your muscles are warm. Your body's going to feel better. Your body will essentially perform better. It's just like warming up your car on a cold day. It's going
Hmm.
to perform better than if you just got in the car and drove down the road.
Right. So when you switched to practical shooting, what was what was something that you found very simple about three gun, and what was the most challenging part for you to make on that switch?
I think simple was just the idea of it. I think the idea of kind of running and gun came natural. It was just like everyone else when they do it, they get hooked. I think for us, it was just like, yeah, this makes sense. This is where has this been my whole life? You know, it's something that we wanted to do. So yeah, it's just hard to describe three guns like it's it becomes a passion pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's really easy, and like I honestly wonder if it's the mechanics, the shooting aspect of it, or if it really is like the um adrenaline cocktail that you get. Like your brain's dumping a bunch of chemicals, and it makes you like it. You know?
Yeah, oh for sure. Yeah, it's addicting. I mean, yeah, hard to explain why.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why we all want people to like come out and try it and play it with us because it is very difficult to explain. But it's once you do it that first time, it's like, oh, okay, I see what they've been talking about.
Yeah, it's exciting to see how many people are getting into the sport in the U.S. It's just I feel like it's just growing and growing, and I feel like it'll continue to grow. And the three gunners are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and just getting out there and seeing like how they help people who are just getting into the sport. I mean, some of the nicest people you'll meet anywhere. It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, and I'm very happy that I found the sport, and obviously I'm really a big fan of it. So I do love to see new people and love to see it grow and everything. One of the biggest challenges though is that when you start, you're not very good. So how I know you do a lot of instruction. How do you instruct your students through that part, the part where you really suck, and then all of a sudden it's kind of getting better? Like how do you overcome that first hump of not doing very well and then still sticking with it?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is to focus on your strengths because coming into this, everyone does have something that they're good at. So I think to begin with, you need to really focus on that. Obviously, you need to work on your weaknesses because that'll ultimately make you a better shooter. But you know, just as far as like having positive attitude, keeping a positive attitude while you're starting out something that's completely really focus on your strength, so then it kind of gives you some positive reinforcement. Yeah, I can do this. I've got at least one of these three down, hopefully. One of the three gun or something. That was like me when I started. I came from a rifle background, and even now my pistol and my shotgun are always something I think that I'll be working on. You know, but at least I have something to fall back on. So if you focus on something to fall back on, it'll encourage you and keep you going, not be discouraged.
Yeah, that is true. You know, it's rare that we see like someone come in that has zero firearms background, you know, and in that case, you know, maybe they can lean on like an athletic background or something like that. But a lot of people come in with like you said, rifle experience from, you know, maybe hunting or they shot some other sort of competitive sport that involved rifle shooting. Maybe they were a goose or duck hunter, maybe they shot clays. So there are definitely because there's so many guns, there is something you can lean on. It's very fortunate that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think from there, it's just someone does a stage and you're kind of at the end, you're like, wow, what just happened? But that was so much fun. I want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a truly amazing feeling. So when let's talk about your first match. When you first heard about, you know, three gun and what's that? Like how did you start? Did you borrow gear? Did you go out and buy like the whole setup, or what was your first match and when did that happen?
I think we went down to Home Depot and got one of those construction belts.
Yes.
I don't even know. Our setup was so ghetto. We used kind of what we had, and then obviously, I think when we went to our first match, we definitely, borrowed from other people. We didn't know what we needed, and then two, yeah, we just didn't have the resources to get everything we needed. So our first match was Rocky Mountain Three Gun. So
Oh,
we
no kidding.
head first into it. It was a very eye-opening experience. I mean, and I still to this day absolutely love that match. But yeah, that was our first experience. It was humbling for sure, but kind of at the same time like I want to do this again.
That's great. So the Rocky Mountain Three Gun, you know, it's one of the matches that have been around for the longest. That's, you know, longest still running match. I've been down there a few times, watched, walked and watched a lot of stages, recorded podcasts and everything. But I'm shooting my first time this year
Nice.
in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, any advice for a Rocky Mountain newbie for me?
Just walk the stages and make sure you know where all the targets are because Denise is great at hiding them.
All right, target locators. I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the stages down there are so much fun. There's so many. It really tests you as a shooter, but you get some of my favorite stages are the all pistol stages where you're running down a canyon and there's just targets everywhere. You got to look up, look down. You run around a corner and there's one right below you, but then it's you get to the end. It doesn't matter how you did. You're just so excited. You really want to do it again. Unfortunately, you can only shoot it once, but yeah, you're gonna have a blast. It doesn't matter how you do. All the stages are so much fun. It's a great time.
Very cool. So, were you hooked after your first trip to Rocky Mountain, or was it like, oh, that was kind of cool, and then maybe it took some more matches to get you into it, or was it just one taste and you're all in?
I think it was. I was hooked after the first stage, but then also like, wow, I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that's very common. You realize how much there is to know about the game. I mean, it's like a never ending thing, and we talk about it all the time. You have like your rifle skills, your pistol skills, and your shotgun skills, and when you're working on one, then the other one's kind of lag behind and everything.
Sure. Yeah. I think in three gun, like you said, there's so much to work on. I think one of the biggest things when you're training is just like you can essentially come up with a training plan where you're like, well, this month I'm going to work on this skill for pistol, this skill for shotgun, and if you just kind of break it down over the year, eventually you'll kind of just you'll be able to integrate all these skills that you did work on. So, I think even writing a lot of the stuff down that you really want to work on to try to improve your game, you figure out where your weaknesses are and just write down, well, so I'm going to work on my quad loads for this amount of time, and then my reloads for my pistol here, whatever. Just whatever you feel like you need to work on, just write it down and come up with kind of like a step-by-step plan for the year that'll help you improve.
Hmm. Well, as far as like a plan, this is a good transition. So you've taken a pause recently in your three gun shooting. But you mentioned before we got started recording that you're going to be coming back and shooting more three gun matches with us. So first of all, let's fill the audience in on what the pause was for, and then I want to hear about what you're going to be doing to get yourself back in match shape.
Yeah, so the pause was for a couple different reasons. Two kids. That's probably the biggest reason.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I was bringing the first year that I had my first kid. I was bringing her to a lot of the matches, and it was great. It was like she got so into it, and but then two became quite a bit
Yeah.
to drag around the matches, and they're going to be great target resetters. I'm kind of already training them. So, but then also my husband, he took a job coaching the Paralympic biathlon team. So I am
Oh, okay.
100% behind what he's doing right now because he works with some of the most incredible athletes that you'll ever meet. A lot of them are wounded vets, and some of them are just. I mean, every single one has the most incredible story you'll ever hear about, and they're out there doing courses similar to what we did when I competed in biathlon. And wow, I am just incredibly impressed and inspired by these athletes. And so he's coaching them and traveling quite a bit doing that. So right now, I'm just okay with supporting him and giving him the opportunity to do that. So yeah, I'm fully behind that right now.
That's awesome. What a amazing amazing thing to do too, the parabiathlon. So how exactly does that work? I'm sure it's different for everyone, right? Because everyone has different sort of um abilities, but
Depending on
um
the disability, some of them are in what they call a sit ski, so they're
okay.
kind of in a sled. And a lot of these athletes are just using when they're in sit ski, they're just using their upper body. So they're cross country skiing up these incredibly steep hills and down them with just their upper body. Like they're so incredibly strong. And then they come in and they shoot. And they're shooting with their sleds, and everything. They're just incredible. Some of them, you'll see an athlete with just arm, so he's able to. They're the stand up skiers, but overall, I mean, they're just incredible people. They don't complain nearly as much as we did. We're always complaining, oh, I didn't get my nap. These athletes are just humble and inspiring. It's really cool. Yeah, I love it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that's a great thing then. Your husband gets the opportunity to do. Um, so okay, let's talk about your comeback. You're planning on come back to shoot more three guns. So have you paused also on training and everything, or have you continued that through your break here? And then what are you going to be doing to get back into shape?
Yeah, so those of you that follow Lanny, she's been posting a lot of picture of her dog. Um,
Yeah.
I'm also one of like you could consider me kind of her like Labrador Retriever because I'm like her training dog. Like if any chance I get that I can shoot with her and kind of push her, I'm always I don't tell her this, but I'm not nearly as anywhere near her level. But I always just kind of tell her that I am, and I'm going to beat her. So you know, I'm messing with her constantly. Always trying to put more pressure on her. And trying to. So any chance I get, I'm pulling the trigger with her when I can. Things like that. So that's always fun. When I can jump in a local match, I definitely do it. Um, and I'm going to be starting to travel with. We're getting our three gun side of our business going with checkout side, so we're going to be traveling to some matches and letting people try out all the gear we have and doing that. And so we're kind of putting together a schedule for next year and hopefully be able to do a lot more matches.
That's very cool. Well, and you guys, you also do training, like you said. You have a class coming up. It's a beginner three gun course, September 2nd at Great Guns in Colorado. I think that's Nunn, Colorado. Is that right?
Yeah, those are super fun matches, or excuse me, classes. The people that we get in them are really great. They're challenging, but really fun. Like I think it's when you get done with a class, you've learned a lot, take a lot back with you. So we're pretty excited about those courses.
Very cool. So I want to ask you about another class that you teach, and then I want to talk about checkout side here. But you teach a class. I think it's called like shooting with elevated heart rate or something similar to that. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we take a lot of the concepts that we learned in biathlon and apply those sorts of things to different types of shooting, whether it's hunting application, if it's professional application, whether it's LEOs or military or whatever, or if people competitive shooting. So the mental and the physical aspects that you deal with when you're shooting, which even if you're just going out to the range, you may have you've got guys kind of heckling you behind you or something. Just kind of dealing with the pressures. If you're going out hunting, obviously you get a big 6 point bull in front of you and you start getting, the shakes and things like that. Those are the sorts of things we kind of teach you to deal with the physical and mental aspects that go into that sort of thing.
Hmm. So what is it then that like this? I mean, without giving away this secret sauce, because people are gonna have to come to the class to check that out. But what is like the elevated heart rate like methodology? Usually it seems like counterintuitive when you first hear about it because usually we talk about calming our heart rate, taking big deep breaths, calming ourselves down before shooting long range or before shooting anything actually, any stage. But it seems like you're kind of teaching to embrace the elevated heart rate.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, exactly. Because take three gun for example. You have Rocky Mountain three gun coming up. If you do a long stage, you'll see a lot of stages where say you start out with pistol, you've got a whole array of pistol targets. You dump your pistol, you got an array of shotgun targets, and all this time you're constantly moving, and then you've got a 20-yard dash to get up to the where you're going to be shooting rifle at some pretty long distance rifle targets. Well, when you get up there, you don't have the time to drop your heart rate. You're not going to have the time to sit there. Okay, well, hold on, give me a second, time out. You're not going to have that time to get your heart rate down. So you need to be able to shoot at whatever heart rate that you're going to be at once you get to that shooting platform. and likely your heart's going to be beating pretty heavily. You're going to be breathing pretty heavily. So we teach the kind of things. How do you deal with that? What are the sorts of things even as you're approaching that shooting position? What are the sorts of things that you can kind of get your shooting or get your breathing under control, mentally start to prepare for shooting in those conditions?
Got it. So give me like one tip, something that I can take away, and if I'm going to like a long range practice tomorrow, something I can put into practice, like on approaching, say, a long range position.
Yeah, so one of the things we teach is what we call breathing reset. So you get up to that stage, and it's almost like you're breathing so hard, it's hard to control. You know, and breathing is actually one of the things you can control. You can't control your heart rate. If we could, I'd sit here and be like, you know, okay, I want to stop my heart. Well, you can't do that. I can sit here and I can stop breathing, hold my
Right.
but I can't control my heart rate. So you can control your breathing. So getting your breathing under control, that's incredibly important because you need the oxygen to get to your eyes to have that focus. You need the oxygen to get to your muscles so they, you know, your muscles aren't shaking to be able to hold up the rifle. You know, all those sorts of things. And you just need to provide your body with that amount of oxygen. So when we do breathing reset, it's just essentially taking this huge deep breath to you have this high rapid breathing rate, getting it down to a more controlled breathing. So we just come in, we take it as we're getting into position, we take these huge deep breaths, and you're essentially resetting your breathing. And it's something that you kind of have to practice and get used to. And once you take it to the range and practice it, it's something that makes complete sense.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm interested. I'm gonna start working on my breathing. It's one thing that I've noticed myself is that like me personally, I'm uh I'm a very shallow breather. And so when I when I run or something like that, I find myself shallow breathing way too much. And
Sure.
especially on stages, where I'll watch video when I finally get to like the long range, and if it's like a specific example this weekend, I noticed myself when I got lied down on like this trailer prop that we had to be on, that I took this huge breath right before the trigger. And as I'm watching it, I'm like also watching the counter on the phone, like tick, 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 tick. It's like, geez, I just transitioned positions. I could have incorporated that into part of it and started it, but I didn't even do it until I had lied down behind the gun.
Yeah, I think, and that's one of the things we teach is your approach to the shot. So you don't want to get to when you're going to take the shot and then start thinking about your breathing and those sorts of things. You want to be thinking about it as you're moving into the shot. So that's one of the things. But then you mentioned shallow breathing. So that's one
Hmm.
of the to breathing through your entire diaphragm, so that you get more oxygen. Essentially, if you were to watch a biathlete shooting, you'll see them. They're kind of standing up on a stage and their guts sticking out. They're breathing through their belly. You can get more oxygen if you're breathing through your belly instead of your chest. And that's even more important when you're in an offhand shooting position. If you're breathing through your chest, you're moving that rifle a lot more. If you're breathing through your belly, you can sit there and stand in a pretty stable position and your belly's moving. You're still breathing, but you're not moving that rifle as much. So that's another thing. Just making sure you're breathing through that entire diaphragm. You get more oxygen into your system, and you're doing less movements. So
Interesting. So I didn't even think about the benefit of less movement. The uh, the eyeball or the vision, I guess vision. I'll say it correctly. The vision thing I've heard before. The getting oxygen to your muscles is something new that I had not considered. But not moving near as much when you're in an upright position for uh, getting that full diaphragm breathing. That's an interesting aspect of it I had not considered.
and you can also use your breathing is probably one of the most important and powerful tools that we teach because you can also use it as a tool to move from target to target. And we that's one of the things we teach is you use your breathing to move. You're not, I mean, you breathe into the target. And if you're focusing on breathing into the next target, so say you're on a target out at 300 yards over this side, and then you've got one 220 over here, you're breathing into that target. You're using your breath as a means of movement into that next target. So then you're replenishing your oxygen, and getting that oxygen that you need to all your muscles, and even most importantly, sometimes your eyes, because when we go into oxygen debt, our we don't have that focus in our eyes, and so your eyes can get blurry. That's another important aspect of making sure you're getting that oxygen and shooting during those kind of more difficult stages.
Yeah, it's a very good point because there have been times where it'll almost feel like I can't focus on the reticle or I'm not finding a target or something like that, and I had not considered that shallow breathing could be a part of that problem or a part of the solution anyway.
Yeah, I mean, getting oxygen is important.
But
Living in Colorado, so at altitude especially.
yeah, we're already starting at a deficit here, right?
Exactly.
Well, all right, Tracy. So let's switch gears here and talk about checkout side a little bit. So this is a super interesting concept that you told me about, or that you were working on a few months ago, and I absolutely love it because for me, I've personally had a lot of experience with testing out gear before I buy it in other avenues like backpacking, rock climbing, things of that nature. But in three gun, it's not really like an outlet that you can use to try things out before you buy them. Like the best you can do is find someone who lets you look through their scope at a match, maybe on the make ready table, or excuse me, on the preload table, or you know best case scenario is getting to throw a few rounds downrange once the stage is over or something like that. But you have like a more unique idea with checkout side. So tell me about the process. And I know you do more than just practical shooting, but we'll get into that as well. So describe the process of checkout side here.
Yeah, so the idea kind of started. I coming from a ski background, there was a lot of times where we go to a ski area and you have the opportunity to go and try out gear. The vendors would have these festivals, so to speak, to say, okay, here we'll set you up with the ski gear and you can go out and try it. So I'm used to that kind of idea of being able to try out gear. Um, and there isn't something that you can do that, whether it's in the hunting or shooting industry, that really doesn't exist. And all the time I see people, they're like, so what scope do I need? What's the best scope? What should I try out? And a lot of people, we value other people's opinions, but when you have the chance to actually get it on your rifle and take it to the range and run a few stages, that's I think when you really see the difference. And well, I really like the reticle on this one, but this one has a little bit better glass. Those sorts of things to kind of compare and see what's going to work for you. So that idea, I think, really appealed to us in trying to start this. We really wanted to be able to give people the opportunity to try out the gear and even the high end gear that they're really kind of on the fence. Should I invest that amount of money in? So this gives you the opportunity. Yeah, okay, it's definitely worth the money. It's worth it. What everyone else has been saying, yeah, they were right. It's really worth it. So
Right. So check outside. If I'm like a consumer and I'm looking between a few different, just say scopes for example, because I was looking at your site and I know you have quite a few of those. How what exactly am I doing? Like I know it's a loaner program, but for the audience, like how does the process work?
yeah, so essentially you're renting the gear from us. So
Hmm.
we you pick the gear that you want to rent. A lot of time for in three gun, for example, people will rent two or three different scopes. We'll send it to them. They'll try them out, and oftentimes they'll say, "Hey, this is the scope that I want." They say, "I want to buy it." They can either buy it from us, or they can go into a retailer and buy that scope from a retailer. So we send them the scopes, and then see, I have some here too. So here's the vortex. This is essentially what you'll get. I have the vortex and the Trijicon. We carry Swarovski, vortex, loophole. We carry quite a few different options for people, and we're going to be adding more scopes as this grows. But essentially, you'll get the scope with a mount, you know, and everything it's all mounted. So all you have to do is get the proper eye relief on your rifle, and then you're ready to go. You can take it to the range and then try it out. So essentially, you can rent these two scopes. We'll send it to you, and then you have the opportunity to try them out in whatever situation that you want to.
That's pretty cool. So you can, if you're looking at, the Vortex Razor versus the Trigicon, whichever that you had in your hand there, you can try them side by side on one range day, and be low investment. You don't have to spend like 4 grand to try out two scopes.
Sure, yeah. So it gives you opportunities. So say you've done your research and you're kind of on the fence between a Swarovski, the Z8i or the Leupold, VX 6 or something. So you're like, I want to try these two out. I want to. It really gives you opportunity to be able to say what's going to work for you. And we do the same with all the shotgun caddies. We carry, carbon arms, TACOM, and Victus Practical. Everyone's always like, well, which one's the best? Well, it depends. Some people have a different preference. So this really gives you the opportunity to say, okay, well, these I really like how the shells come out of the caddy here. This really works for me. So you can try out the different caddies. You can rent a chest rig for a match. Some of the matches you'll see in Rocky Mountain 3-gun. You're going to be so loaded up with shells. Maybe you need an extra caddy or something like that. You can rent it for us for the weekend. Just so that you have enough gear. Make sure when you go to the match, you're not worried about, am I going to have enough gear? Am I going to have enough caddies for that really long shotgun stage?
Yeah. I like that concept of it, and that is like how I've rented gear in the past. Like, used to be when I obviously I live in Colorado just as you do. Used to be when I would go camping, we would just do like car camping, right? So one time I was invited on a backpack trip, didn't have a backpack, but went down to REI, rented a backpack, and I can't even remember what it was, but it was, super reasonable. It was a fraction of the cost of the pack itself. And then at the time I didn't know what I wanted in a pack. So used it for that weekend, returned it, was able to go into it with low impact. But I like what you just said there. If someone has like the belt caddies that they use in their normal club matches, but they're going to go shoot a major match, instead of investing in more gear for that one all shotgun stage that they're going to shoot, every quarter or every year, then they can actually rent that gear to help them through the match, send it back in good condition, and not necessarily worry about purchasing it or having it hanging around for the rest of the time.
Sure. Yeah, it just kind of gives you. I mean, there's enough to think about at a match without always having to worry. Well, is your buddy gonna let you borrow his chest rig or something? Is he gonna
Yeah.
get it because he's doing a stage over there? It just gives you a little bit of peace of mind having the gear that you need going into a match. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So the concept, when you and I discussed it, we were talking about it just in the 3-gun context, but when you turn on the camera, I can see behind you that there's plenty more to your model than just 3-gun gear. And there's a lot of crossover in 3-gun with hunters and everything. Usually in Colorado here, our 3-gun season closes down in October, so everyone can go hunting. So what other kinds of gear do you guys specialize in?
Yeah, so we also do hunting gear, and we're really pretty excited about this because it's one thing, say someone from out east gets a mule deer tag or a sheep tag out west somewhere in Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, wherever. Well, they've just dropped a couple grand on the tag, and then their plane tickets to get out here, and if they are having a guide, and just it keeps adding up. So to be able to have some of the other gear that you need, but do you go with your $100 pair of binoculars and risk missing some sort of game, or do you rent it? So we're a Swarovski dealer, so we carry top of the line Swarovski products. We have binoculars, spotting scopes, and even rifle scopes. So if you if you just hunt you know excuse me whitetail back out east and you need a really good scope for hunting sheep, we rent those types of scopes. We also rent um, packs for, like, say you want to pack out your meat, something like this. We have Everly stock packs, which, if you know Everly stock, they're like top of the line. So you get a frame pack to pack out your meat, and this is something that maybe you're only going to use once a season. So you can have a really great pack to pack out your gear, pack in your gear, whatever, and you can rent it out and not break the bank essentially.
I love that. If you look at if you're watching on YouTube, behind me there is just an absolute ton of three gun gear. But but aside from all the three gun stuff, for me, I try to, minimize how much stuff I have in my life. So I like the idea of, if you're going on a hunting trip, not having to purchase like a, $300 to $500 pack and, this and that and the other thing. You can just borrow it and then it doesn't take up space in your garage or in your, spare bedroom or something like that. That's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, you can have the opportunity to say it's not in the budget to buy a $2,000 spotting scope, but you want to be able to have that quality glass to be able to really look up on that mountain and see those sheep. So it just gives people the opportunity to have really nice gear, at a fraction of the cost. And we also have, see this guy. This is Tom.
Tom the turkey.
Tom the turkey. So we also rent, uh, some smaller items too that can just add up. We have decoys and GPS units, radios, range finders, which is a big one for people. You want to be able to have a good rangefinder, to scope your shots and things like that. So, we have a lot of different gear, a lot of different options for people that where, you spend a fortune already on your tags and everything else. And this just kind of helps you to have really great gear at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it's something we talk about in three gun, um, in the dirt at matches. We talk about it when I discuss matches with match directors. We talk about it on all the three gun forums on Facebook and everything. Is there's a large cost associated with three gun and with going to a match. You've got the match fee, you've got your travel costs, hotel costs, and things like that. Um, and then there's all the other pieces of gear that make matches easier. Like you said, spotting scopes, range finders, extra caddies and stuff like that. So if you can, if you're like a three gunner that has like a shoestring budget, or even if you've got a big budget, but you don't really want to allocate it to accumulating more gear for several matches. If you only have like a few major matches that you're going to a year, you can rent the gear for the weekend, use it, and then return it, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Plus, you can try out different gear every time and see what you really want to buy. I love the concept.
Yeah, and we really believe in grassroots and kind of building the sport and things like that. And so, the idea of really helping people to get into the sport and kind of, getting them the opportunity to try out the equipment, and because it's a cost heavy sport. There are a lot of heavy costs associated with getting into it, and that can even be a drawback for a lot of people. So we're hoping that it even helps people to get into the sport even more, because they figure out what they want, what's going to work for them, before they have to make those huge investments. And they probably will, definitely down the road, once they get hooked. But at least it'll help soften the blow when they first start.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a great point too, because everyone's situation is different, but it's for me, it is difficult making that, multi-thousand-dollar purchase on one piece of gear. Having just looked through it, like on a stage, like on a 30-yard bay, you're like, well, I guess that's pretty awesome, but I don't know how I'm gonna shooting it at 600 yards. So I love the concept.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I mean, it's the concept isn't just for beginners. We also get people who are looking to improve their game and upgrade their equipment. So they want the opportunity to compare different. So it just gives people the opportunity to try out all this stuff and see. Like I said, we're going to be adding as we go along. There's tons of different options for scopes out there and things like that. So as people give us input on what they'd like to see us carry, and we're going to be adding more scopes as we go along, so people have even more options to try out. So that's our hope.
Got it. And so you're born and raised in Durango, still there. And is this is Check Outside showroom? Is it some place I can actually physically go and see what y'all have?
Yeah, yeah. We've got a ton of camping gear that you can pick up locally. All of our hunting, you can pick up any of our gear locally here. We have a warehouse where we package all of our stuff to send out, things like that. But our showroom, this is essentially it. We do have a trail mix bar with like some really good homemade trail mix.
What?
When you're heading out on your backpacking trip or whatever, we're gonna hook you up with some good snacks before you go.
How cool is that? Well, I love the so I've said like 100 times I love the concept because I'm jealous I didn't think of it first. But the fact that you guys are in Durango in your local community, you're um catering to the visitor market because Durango, for people that don't know, is one of the most gorgeous places in Colorado. There's so many outdoor recreation opportunities. Some of the best memories of my childhood are a trip that my dad and my brother and I took to Durango. So holds a special place in my heart, and I love that you're outfitting the people that want to come and visit.
Yeah, if you're flying into Durango, don't try to haul all your stuff. We'll hook you up. We'll get you out into the outdoors and have a good time.
That's great. Well, Tracy, where can people learn more about Check Outside if they're interested?
Yeah, so just go to checkoutside.com, and we've got all the information on our gear. For three gun, we've got a bunch of information. We call it a gear generator that kind of shows it's an interactive guide. It'll show you if you're just getting into the sport, shows you all the different kind of equipment you need to get into it. We're going to be constantly adding more equipment in three gun. We're going to be adding more interactive content for our websites to kind of show you different part aspects of the sport of three gun and things like that. So there's hopefully we're going to have a lot of good stuff out there for people, not only gear and stuff, but things that'll help you learn more about the sport.
I love it. What a great opportunity. You guys are also on Instagram. It's just check.outside. And I encourage people to check it out. It's a really cool concept run by some really amazing people. So yeah, check it out. I'm gonna try some stuff as well. I need to get back to Durango at some point, so maybe that's a good opportunity. I'll come down and grab some trail mix from you. Well, Tracy, want to switch gears again. Work to wrapping up the show. Got a couple last questions that I want to ask you. Um, on the topic of three gun or competitive shooting, but what is one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever received? And this can be something you've received recently in three gun or maybe along your journey in biathlon.
Best piece of advice. I'd have to say like just have fun. I mean,
Yeah.
people we take it too seriously, especially when you're starting out. You want to do well, but if you have fun, you're going to do it. Anytime that we would do good in a match or in a competition, we were having fun. So I mean, it's pretty generic, but we oftentimes forget that.
It's something that you easily forget too. When you start out, like it's such um, a juice for your body that you want more and more and more, right? And then at some point you think like, oh, I want to be better, and so you work hard to try to get there, and you put all these expectations on yourself, and it's easy to forget that fun. So that's a good reminder.
Yeah, I think one of the things stepping away, having this little break from three gun has reminded me of because I spent my entire life competing, And sometimes you definitely get so into the competition that you forget to have fun, and you put so much pressure on yourself to do well because, well, you've invested all this money, you've invested all this time. Well, now you have to do good, right? Well, no, you're why are you doing it? You do it because you love it. That's probably most of the biggest reason why everyone does it. So constant reminder of that is not a bad thing. Doing it because you have fun and because you love it. So
Yeah, I love it, and I can totally relate to that too. Last year, Mo Shaw had to remind me of that at Generation Three Gun.
yeah,
He, it was I want to say we were on the same squad. I want to say it was like on our second or third stage or something, and he came up and real sarcastically is like, "You having fun?" I'm like, not really." And
yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, I can tell. So loosen up because you're not any fun to be around right now." So it is something that you need to remind yourself, and if you've got friends that are kind of exhibiting those things, you can help them along as well.
Yeah, three gun's tough, so you might as well have fun with it because at some point it's gonna smack you in the face. So might as well have some fun.
Absolutely, and that's what it took was me getting smacked in the face. Well, Tracy, where do you see the sport of three gun headed?
I think it's going to continue to grow. We're going to just be getting a ton of numbers, and we're seeing more matches. I don't know exactly where we're going, but I think it's going in a good direction. Um, I think there's so many different opportunities for people to grow in the sport. You've got so many different types of matches. I think we're going to see the sport branch out in different ways. You're going to see kind of your longer, more I like to call them endurance stage matches, like Rocky Mountain Three Gun. You're going to see your sprint stage matches that I call like more Three Gun Nation type. The base stages. So I think you'll see that kind of branch out where people almost maybe even start to specialize in those different ones because there's some that are good at some types of matches and others that some are good at the base stages and others are good at the longer stages. And then I think you see things branching out, like you see two gun branching out and things like that. And so there's just I think it's creating opportunity for people in general and shooters in general because it doesn't matter your background. There's something in three gun for you that you're gonna find.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And there are also like adjacent sports. For example, we're doing a match October 13th at Ben Lamont Gun Club in Rama, Colorado, called the Big Ben Blast and Dash, and it's a 5K race with I think we came up with 11. We might add 12, or we might add another one for 12 obstacles. Um, and 7 stages to shoot. So you're going to be running with your rifle and your pistol and all the ammunition you need for the match. Climbing a rope, doing monkey bars, jumping over walls, as well as a 5K in between. Actually, that kind of sounds like it's like right up your alley. But that's another exciting thing that's come out is branch like you said, branching off and splinter sports as well.
And that's what I think makes it exciting. There's something almost every weekend that you can do if you want, and just the thought of having something new and exciting every weekend that a shooter can do,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's incredible. So and just the different opportunities that you have to essentially run and gun and pull the trigger on something, and it's just there's so many opportunities. We're going to see more things like that, just like the match that you just described. I mean, some things like that are just going to add to the sport and make it more exciting and bring even more people in. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. So consider putting that one on your schedule. We've got a couple of questions in the chat here, and then I have one final one for you. So these are all from Lanny, by the way. So Lanny apparently was listening when you said don't tell Lanny. Um, and her comment on that is she's planning a Tanya Harding on me. Just joking. She's way better than me, just too humble to say so. That's nice. And then she mentions that you guys actually have an elevated heart rate rifle course September 1st at Great Guns in Nunn, Colorado as well. So check that out. And then she says Three Gun needs a junior division with 22 rifle slash pistol and 20 gauge to help grow the sport with future generations. I love that.
completely. We've talked about that. I don't know how many times. And just those are the types of guns that most people have laying around, and they're easy for kids to pick up and super user friendly.
Hmm.
I think something like that would be great to bring more kids and kind of grow the sport from the ground up, essentially. So,
Yeah. One of the things that I've or I guess I discovered this like 5 years ago. I didn't discover it, someone else invented it, but it's the NRA three gun experience. Have you heard of that?
yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've never seen one. I love the concept and like how they have it all prescribed and everything. Um, and I've spoken to several match directors of like how can we get something like this at a match, and then invite the greater area, people from that club that are maybe shotgun shooters or pistol shooters or something, just to give them like a taste. And that is along those lines of what Lanny and you were talking about, is that it does consist of 22 caliber rifle and pistol, and I don't know if they do a 20 or 12 gauge shotgun, I can't recall, but it's with so much going on at like a major match, it's difficult to sell that idea to a match director. But I do see a lot of value in that for getting spectators to come out and look at that, and also give them a small taste of what three gun is like.
Yeah, I think it's important in any sport to grow the grassroots. So anytime you have the opportunity for juniors and young kids and novices to get them into the sport. Shooting is a lifelong sport, and once you get into it, you can do it for as long as you live, and it doesn't matter what sport you get into shooting. It's something that you can do. So just growing that and continuing to bring people into, and teaching them this heritage of shooting is, I think, incredibly important. So, yeah, I think getting the kids in and giving them an opportunity to get into and try out our sport is incredibly important.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so last question, Tracy. One final thought or one piece of advice for the audience to take with them.
Uh, get out there. One of our biggest things that we've been trying to push with people is put that device down and get out there. Get out in the outdoors. We live in the greatest country on earth. There's so many opportunities. Get outside. Like, just go out. Turn off all your devices. Put everything behind you and just breathe in some fresh air.
I love it, and I totally need that. I'm going to be doing that soon. Tracy, this has been a ton of fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with the Three Gun Show audience, and for telling us about the amazing stuff you're doing with Check Outside. Thank you to everybody hanging out in the chat. And once again, Tracy, thank you for being a part of the Three Gun Show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good luck in your next match.
Thank you.